I have talked about this a little bit today, but Exclusive Ace, who does a lot of these like detailed breakdown videos, not necessarily of like, here's the meta, whatever, but just like how does the game actually works, did a video about suppression. You guys have heard me talk about this a bit now, where if you shoot near somebody, it makes it so it will not allow them to heal. But he does a full breakdown of this that I wanted to show you guys because I feel like this needs way more attention. Because not enough people know this, and it could be a massive help for your gameplay. And you guys tell me if you know about this or not yet. But let's take a look.
It turns out, after doing some testing, this is significantly more powerful than I initially thought, and I think these results will surprise many of you as well. So let's just dive right into this, and the first thing to point out with Suppression in Battlefield 6 is it only has an impact on the enemy's health regeneration when you're suppressing them. This is different from many of the previous Battlefield games where it would increase the amount of sway that you experience, or it could even increase the amount of spread that your gun would have, so it would make your gun less accurate.
This was a real big reason. You even see him using the LMGs here. In the past, you would run an LMG, and even just spraying down a hallway, you would get suppression assist, but it would also make it so they couldn't even hit their shots. It was a super big counter as well to snipers, and your whole screen would also get blurry if you were being suppressed. That is totally different in this game now. There was a tweet from a couple weeks ago from Drunksy, who's one of the developers on it, who works a lot on the gun stuff, and he said that it does not affect your weapons. It just affects your health regen.
You were being suppressed while firing. That doesn't happen at all in Battlefield 6. Additionally, in previous Battlefield games, suppression would tend to have quite a big visual impact on you, so it would make your screen quite blurry. It may even shake your screen around a little bit. And that isn't really happening in Battlefield 6 either.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
You can see the effect is taking place, and the way to know that you have been suppressed by a bullet is this little indicator that you might see show up on the screen. It does show the direction the shot is coming from, and this is an indicator letting you know you've been suppressed. Now, when it comes to how this impacts our health regeneration,
your UI on your
let's first take a look at our standard health regeneration when there's no suppression present. And with this, from the last damage that you've taken, there's a 5-second delay before you even start regenerating your health. And then when it comes to the regeneration itself, you regenerate at a rate of 10 HP per second. So in this case, I dealt 67 damage, and once he starts regenerating, it takes exactly 6.7 seconds.
I will say that is a very long time. I think it might take a little bit longer based on the health, because he was about like 25 health or 20 health there. And from the beta, it worked a little different. There was like a bar that would go up, and then when that bar got to the top, then your health would go all the way up. So it kind of stayed at low health for the whole time. Now it's just a gradual heal, which is more similar to how the way that the health worked in the past.
To get back up to full health. Add that 5-second delay, and this was a total regeneration time in this scenario of 11.7 seconds from the last time he took damage.
That's already a pretty long time.
Now, like I said, that's just the control. That's the base health regeneration with no suppression present. Now, let's take a look at what suppression does. And what I found with this is every time a bullet suppresses you, it immediately resets your health regeneration delay. That 5-second delay, it sets that clock back to 0. And what I found with this is there's no limit to this. Meaning, if you keep getting suppressed every single time a bullet flies by that suppresses you, it will once again reset the timer on that 5-second health regeneration delay. And this means if a bullet suppresses you every 4.9 seconds on a steady basis, you will literally never regenerate health.
And the suppression, for anybody that doesn't know, is maybe I should have said this earlier too, but it's when you shoot near an enemy, so you don't hit them. It's not you hitting them like flangeable rounds, which is something in this game. If you hit them with a certain ammo type, it'll delay their health regeneration, but this is even better. And look at how big the box is on this.
And therefore, on the flip side of this, if you've dealt damage to an enemy player and they take cover, all you have to do is continue shooting around that cover, and as long as they stay within the suppression range, which we'll look at in just a little bit, you can just keep suppressing them and make it so they literally can't heal, with one key exception here, which we'll also look at shortly. Also, it is worth noting with this, if the player starts regenerating their health, so they go more than 5 seconds without being suppressed or taking damage, and they start that process of healing, if you suppress them during this time, it will stop that health regeneration and once again reset that 5-second delay.
Yeah.
So now it's going to take...
So this is the health bar for this enemy.
Take another 5 seconds.
And even though his health was already regenerating, he stopped it just by shooting. The 5 seconds had already triggered, but just if you shoot, you will stop the health regeneration of an enemy. And look at how far he's shooting away from the enemy too, and it stops the health regen.
Before they start healing again. So you can interrupt the health regeneration as well. Now, let's look at the key exception to this, and the counter to suppression here, effectively, is the supply bag or the supply pouch that the support players will have. With these, when you enter their radius or you throw one down at your feet if you are the support player, it immediately triggers your health regeneration, and this ignores any sort of suppression, meaning if you're being actively suppressed and you're hurt and you throw one of these bags down at your feet, that suppression doesn't matter anymore. You'll just immediately trigger the health regeneration, and even if they're still continuing to suppress you, it won't interrupt your health regeneration. You'll just continue to regenerate that health like you normally would if you weren't being suppressed.
I wonder if it stops the health regen if you get hit, though.
So that is effectively a full counter to suppression. Now, I also wanted to test the adrenaline injector just to see if this would also counteract the effects of suppression when it comes to health regeneration, and it turns out no, this has no impact on that whatsoever. As far as I can tell, it's only the supply bag and the supply pouch that can do this. Perhaps there's something else I'm overlooking here that would allow you
I don't think so. Those are the only ways that you can regen health. The only other thing is if you get shot, maybe does that stop the health regen? But in early play tests, the stim actually did heal, but they've changed it, and then the stim doesn't actually heal anything. I do feel like it's a bit underwhelming, that stim. It's pretty bad. But maybe I just suck. But that
to heal through this
effective.
Suppression. But these are at least going to be the primary methods of countering suppression.
Or
now,
countering
the next
suppression
big reason
would be
that suppression is more powerful than I thought, this is how big of a bubble around an enemy player you have to suppress them. It turns out all you have to do is have that bullet pass within 5
Look at how far away that is. That looks
5
more
meters
than
of
5
them.
meters.
That's a pretty big range, as you can see there.
Yeah.
And this means behind a lot of forms of cover, they won't be able to escape your suppression.
So if you shoot at any if you shoot at somebody who's behind cover anywhere this far around them, even if they're behind something, it will stop their health from being able to regenerate. That is crazy range. And the thing is, it doesn't always pop up saying that you are suppressing somebody, like you don't get XP for it, but you will be actually suppressing them. So this is good help. If a teammate shoots at you, or if a teammate gets somebody lit and you see him pushing up, even just shooting some bullets past that cover will ensure that that enemy is not healed up and you win the fight.
And this means behind a lot of forms of cover, they won't be able to escape your suppression. All you have to do is shoot around the edge of that cover or over the top as well, since this bubble completely surrounds the player and also applies over the top, not just to the sides. And you will continue suppressing them unless they can get 5 meters away from the edge of that cover where you're putting those bullets down. And I should also point out something that I was curious to test here. I thought perhaps different weapon classes would have different amounts of suppression. So I was thinking like LMGs would probably have the most amount of suppression with maybe the biggest bubble or the biggest range at which you could suppress players. And then something like a pistol would either not be able to suppress at all, or it would have like a significantly smaller range. However, based on my testing, it doesn't seem to matter what gun you're using. A pistol will suppress enemy players just as much as an LMG, although of course you have a smaller magazine and therefore that may limit things. LMGs tend to have much larger magazines, so you could argue that definitely.
That is crazy. Yeah, the LMG could be more effective because you lay down more sustained fire, but to have this wide of a radius that you could even just shoot a pistol bullet to just for a full 5-second reset. Technically, if their health is low, it still locks them out for 12 seconds before their health can fully regen. That's pretty effective.
Definitely improves your suppression potential, but at the end of the day, any gun can suppress as long as you have a bullet that passes within 5 meters of an enemy player. And this was all also quite surprising to me because when it comes to suppression in the game, I thought, and I'm sure many other people have this same thought, that the suppression effect only applies if you see that little pop-up on your screen that says enemy suppressed, and you get like 5 XP for doing that.
Meanwhile, look at how many shots he took here. All of these are suppressing him.
Little pop-up on your screen that says enemy suppressed.
That was like 15 shots, maybe.
And you get like 5 XP for doing that.
And he got 5 XP.
And in order to get that to pop up, it seems like you have to fire continually, fairly close to an enemy.
But also, he may not have been hurt. So these guys might have been suppressed, but it wasn't actually blocking the health regeneration because maybe their health was full. Maybe that's why it didn't pop up as suppression.
Enemy player to get that little pop-up to apply. In reality, that pop-up is irrelevant when it comes to actually suppressing the enemy player. Like I said, all you need is one bullet passing within 5 meters from any gun out there to suppress.
Because if you did that, then that would be a way to basically check a corner. If you could successfully shoot and suppress somebody when they are still full health, you could shoot before you go across any corner, and if it popped up saying suppression assist, you would know somebody's there. So that I think that makes sense.
Press an enemy target. And as a result, even though this doesn't have the big effects that Suppression has had in many previous Battlefield games, like increased spread or a huge visual effect that makes it much harder for them to see what's going on around them as they're being suppressed, at the end of the day, in many situations, you can ensure that an enemy player literally just can't ever heal, and this is absolutely going to change how I approach many situations. If I know I'm going to be pushing an enemy player after dealing damage to them and they've taken cover, and if I know it's going to take me at least 5 seconds to get to them and I want to push them, all I have to do is make sure I pop a bullet down range in their general direction while I'm on my way, and it will reset that 5-second timer. So once I do close that gap and get to them, their health is going to be just as low, and I'll be able to finish them off with ease.
Especially if you know they're an engineer,
player, of course, or if they have a support player nearby.
If you see somebody shooting an RPG, you land 2 shots on them, they pull cover, you immediately start pushing. After 3 seconds, shoot 1 more round over their cover, keep pushing. You're going to get there with a health advantage, as long as you're not caught full sprinting. But even if you are, if you have that big of a health lead and they can't regen.
Additionally, and I would say this is more the intention of Suppression, if you're working with your teammates, this can also be incredibly valuable. If you see a teammate is pushing an enemy that has taken cover, you know that enemy has taken damage. Well, now we know suppressing them is going to be helping that teammate out a ton. Way more than I initially thought before making this video. Because my impression of this, knowing that it had an impact on health regeneration, was that it would just be like a one-time delay. Like if you suppress them at one point, it just slightly increases that health regeneration delay, but continued suppression wouldn't have any additional effect on top of that. It was just, if you suppress them, then it would do that. And like I said earlier as well, I thought you had to actually see that icon pop up on your screen that says enemy suppressed with the 5 XP, and that's not the case at all.
It's still pretty good
now,
on
the receiving end of this is also very important information to know. First off, this makes support that much more powerful in my eyes, because if you are getting actively suppressed...
Yeah, dude, I think support is already insanely the best choice, especially for any of these close quarter matches. If you even want to try to use the engineer, his like ultimate ability of repairing does nothing. This ultimate isn't super powerful either, but the medic being able to not run out of ammo and just cause your health to regen. I do want to try the assault package that gives me faster health regen, but I haven't got it unlocked yet.
And you're a support player? Well, at least
that makes
you can
it
just
even
throw that bag down at your feet.
Even if you are suppressed and people decide to try and keep you suppressed, you can start a health regen.
And stop the suppression in its tracks. Additionally, what this means is you really want to keep an eye out for those little indicators that pop up on your screen that are letting you know that you are suppressed, especially when you've taken damage, of course. And I'm definitely going to be a lot more cautious re-challenging after being suppressed, because that regeneration gets delayed a lot more than I initially expected. And with that, that's pretty much it. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below.
Guys, you gotta go check.
Now that you have a full understanding of how the suppression system works in Battlefield 6, how do you feel about it?
Hopefully, he continues to do more of these videos. This is awesome. I'm gonna send a link here as well. Go and subscribe to him. I've seen a lot of his videos over the years on COD, but suppression video. Go give him a comment. Yeah, let him know. Let him know. This is good stuff. We like this. I like this a lot. I like it a lot.